Cruz, yes, El Paso family. They're in the federal courthouse, literally, because his brother Brian married a Mayela, cause Patrick's brother married a Mayela. El Paso matters, they knew, kept it hush-hush, in a quid pro quo, money rush. Courthouse favors for a fake news show. They're bias, it's clear as you know. So they built a lie designed to divide, attacking Trump while the truth set aside. With a fake story, the false narrative grew, smearing Trump's name, deceiving me and you. Michael Mayela, the father pulling strings, Menange's judge, Guadarrama's court. Cha-chings gave courthouse favors for a fake news show, so the media lets Mayela's names lay low. Cruz just had no ties, they clamored in the news, but they're in the chamber wearing courthouse shoes. And Michael Jr., the brother of the bride, interned at the DA's side, also with the dirty FBI leaker who tattletaled while at Walmart where the security failed. What the hell? So they built a lie designed to divide, attacking Trump while the truth set aside. With a fake story, the false narrative grew, smearing Trump's name, deceiving me and you. El Paso matters, more like El Paso hush, a quid pro quo, money rush. Courthouse favors for a fake news show. They're bias, it's clear as you know. With Bob Moore whispering lies in our ear, no truth, no integrity, year after year. They let it roll, they let the falsehoods fly, bury the truth while the real stories die. They painted Cruz as a hater of Brown, a fake white supremacist just to drag Trump down. Jr., the brother of the bride, interned at the DA's side, with Esparza, Montoya, and Nieto. The FBI leak a tattletale. Wow, and in Walmart where security failed, where security failed, where security failed. Justice for Richard Halliday.
Hi, everybody. So today is day 2026. I think that's what it is, 2026. Make sure. 2036. Gosh, I tell you. 2036 days. Make sure I'm on. Since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room because he was a whistleblower, and this was a code red and internal act of violence against Richard there on Fort Bliss, and he was dragged down to the basement room, the arms room, which is soundproof, and his life was taken from him. His body was stolen off of Fort Bliss, since this was an internal planned code red, they call it. And his body was then stolen off of Fort Bliss and trafficked to Juarez, Mexico. And all evidence indications lead to his body being disposed of at the Rafael Purchase Arellano Caron's Plenitude Crematorium. I say the Purchase Arellano Caron's because it's a family business, okay? This funeral business is a family business, and it's big, it's huge. And they had this narco crematorium, was just one of their businesses, and that's where it leads to, because he is not, this family is not, just from Juarez, Mexico. They are very tied to the cartel. They're very tied to CJNG cartel, the most brutal, the flesh peddlers and human flesh eaters. They are just right there in alliance with the Juarez cartel and with the Mormon faction El Paso cartel, and that are the protective racket for the Epstein pipeline. Um, which all makes sense, right? Which all makes sense. And in order to be the protective pipeline, the protective racket for that pipeline, which, Jeffrey Epstein said he was working for the Trilateral Commission. That means a group of businessmen that were all around the world that were attempting to rule the world, not being elected by anybody, right? Not being elected, absolutely using their wealth to direct policy, which means tampering with elections. Okay. And I think that is, the key here. In order to rule the world, they had to influence and also tamper with who would become leader. Okay. And that means tampering with the elections around the world. And that's why Maduro, you have heard, maybe you haven't, but the news reported that Maduro was captured, of course, for the oil theft, the recent um, leader of Argentina for his fuel theft, but also for controlling voting machines that is connected to Maduro out of Argentina for around the world, controlling voting machines around the world. And so this is big business people that wanted to rule the world, never minding politics. But uh, meaning, I shouldn't say it that way, never minding the people, right? Or the Constitution, but influencing who is in the Congress and what policies go through, and who's in the Senate and what policies go through, and who is the President of the United States, who are the judges, who are the district attorneys, the prosecutors, who are the sheriffs, who are people that sit on the city council, right? And on it goes. On and on it goes, the influence. And this started in the late, um, well, in the 1980s, really got going in the early 1990s. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein was invited by David Rockefeller to join the Trilateral Commission of this group of very wealthy business people, billionaire business people. And he did. He did. He was the proud, just a guy, just a good guy, or whatever he put on his. They wanted him to write up like a little bio for maybe their little yearbook, their Trilateral Commission yearbook or something, and that's what he talks about in the interview with Steve Bannon. That was recently released, and you can watch it on YouTube. And it is really fascinating because it really gives you a look into how this all started, and um, what their purpose was, and their purpose, of course, was to exploit and direct in their favor, in to their favor, right? And never mind the voters, never mind the people, and never mind the Constitution right? Never mind the Constitution. So, this is why you see that they will do a lot of, they call them false flags, right? Um, but with technology, they'll do real real crimes, real crimes, to of do what they need to do to tamper with elections. And the Walmart mass shooting clearly is, and I'm looking at the Walmart. You can't see it from here, but on my screen. But so it's no doubt anymore that they create a lot of havoc in many different ways. And I truly am with the mother of the victim of the Guadalupe flood, the Kerrville flood that happened in 2025 that President Trump just mentioned, that I dreamed about. And he mentioned in his State of the Union address, and he doesn't just randomly pick these things. There's a purpose, for he only has a short time to give this speech. Even though that was a long speech, it's just, there's so much going on, and you can talk for hours and hours and hours with all the different things going on. But he has to pick and choose what he wants the people to focus on and to understand what his administration is doing. And for him to pick the flood in Texas, and knowing that there are ongoing investigations and now even lawsuits about the flood and my dream, I picked up on that probably the most out of his wonderful speech. I mean, it was just a great speech, but I really picked up on that um, part of it. And looking that up today, I'm gonna tell you that I am right with her. She says from her heart, she knows that that's not natural. From everything that we know, I don't believe that that was natural either. I think there was some natural to it for a cover. Um, but, it's kinda like what they do in El Paso ISD. You have tunnels underneath these schools. Yes, kids go to the schools, but they also, traffic through these tunnels, and kids and stuff come out of those tunnels and go into buses, and no one ever says anything because it's a school, right? So it's just a really great cover. So you have the rain, but then you add more water, and no one, you think, oh my goodness, this was really natural. 40 feet of all of a sudden flash flood. No, that was there's a real problem. There's a real problem. And um, knowing what I know about the camps that were along that Guadalupe River, um, I am with that mother, and I say, no, this was not natural. And of course, I had that dream on the 16th of June, 18 days before it happened. That was just that day I went on and digitized my dream to get it analyzed, right? Because of Richard's case, everything that's just very, I mean, it was something that you don't forget. It was such a powerful dream that I thought I needed to get it analyzed. And so that's why I drew the best picture. Of course, I use the computer to do it. Um, and did the best image that I could of what was going on in my dream. And, it's still being, it's still, um, it's becoming more and more clear what I was dreaming about, because soon after my dream, of course, Plenitude Crematorium was discovered with all the bodies. That was absolutely a flood of um, information and transparency for us because of the owner of it, the owners of it, and all of their connections with this El Paso Mormon faction cartel. And with the CJNG cartel, I mean, the understanding that came from that day is huge. And then, of course, on July 4th, the flood itself, and, what needed to be washed up, washed away, what needed to be washed away. And the cases are very interesting because the the girls at Camp Mystic, they were told to lock down in their cabins. They weren't being evacuated. Yet, the workers there were evacuating the equipment. They were evacuating the equipment, but not the girls. Okay. There's just a lot of things coming out in these lawsuits and in the investigations that are very interesting because we know that there were active SJNG cartel members and other cartel members along that route, along those camps, and that, the camps are pretty seasonal. What happens, who's the owner of these camps, what happens in between the camp times or even during the camp times. Are they running drugs? Are they even making drugs? Are they hiding children? Are they trafficking children? Are they having their rituals? Are they conducting their rituals at these camps? Um, and are they doing paramilitary activities at these camps, training at these camps for nefarious purposes? Uh, and I hate to just say that out there because, we've just lost trust, and I went to an amazing camp in Colorado when I was in high school. It was an amazing time. I loved it. And, but today, in today's atmosphere, I think the parents need to be very, very careful because Camp Mystic, I believe that the Bush daughters, W. Bush, that they went there. This was not just any kind of camp, and I think it needs to be said for the safety of the children. And of course, right after the flood, there were many, many arrests. And I posted that up today of the CGNG. Of course, the brother of El Mancho was arrested in February of 2025. And then in August of 2025, his brother in law, the finance people, and these arrests and extraditions are really important to have these extraditions because that means that they committed crimes in the United States. Okay. They are up against federal crimes in the United States. And so for Mexico to agree to extradite these individuals, the crimes had to be pretty bad. And, a lot of pressure, with the tariffs and everything like that. So to have, dozens and dozens of these criminals that are connected to CJNG who are initiated into the cartel by eating human flesh, this is this is serious. You bring these people into the country. They were given visas by this Mormon faction El Paso cartel when they made the alliance with the Mexican cartel, including CJNG. They made an agreement with them that they would get the visas and be able to set up shop in the United States, meaning, any kind of businesses, their house, their cars, everything, and that they would be protected. That they would also, and this is very important because this has been confirmed, that they would also have free access anytime. They could have access to our intelligence databases. Okay, so they would know what cases were being investigated, who was on the case, who were the whistleblowers, who were the witnesses, who were the informants, who were the agents, and uh, they would know what's coming down the pipeline, so that they could tamper with evidence, destroy evidence, and all of that. And so this is, three major breaches of national security. The visas, letting these criminals, this kind of level, putting our sons and daughters, our communities, our wives, our husbands, our businesses, at such great risk by letting these people have visas. Um, it's just absolutely criminal. And then to give them access to databases that, a Gold Star family doesn't have access to those databases. And I can tell you that they use those databases to get any kind of information, from medical records to any kind of anything from our family. They were trying to put together, and praise God, my record is sparkling. My husband's record he's a total hero. Rob is a total hero. And of course, Richard also. And, and it shouldn't be that, it shouldn't have to be that way. But this is the access these people have. They have access to everything. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be that way, meaning people shouldn't be sparkling, right? But if something happened in the past, right? If something happened, then they would use that and they would grind you. They would absolutely. They used El Paso Matters. They used Bob Moore. They had to fabricate lies about Richard. Okay. They had to fabricate. They were like, oh crap, this guy is so sparkling clean. We're going to have to organize and collaborate together in order to set him up. Because we don't have any dirt on him. We're going to have to create some dirt, right? That's what Bob Moore did. And he's just so criminal, y'all. And he shares an office space with Arliano Caron. Raphael purchased Arliano Caron. They're together in way more ways than people know, because Arliano Caron, Raphael Arliano, well, the purchase Arliano Caron family lived right next to Beto O'Rourke, right? And was very connected to La Diabla. And La Diabla's family was working for Beto O'Rourke. And they also had the Argo Oil and Gas that had shared the address with El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation. Anytime you hear El Paso Matters, you have to insert El Paso Community Foundation, because El Paso Matters works exclusively for the benefit of El Paso Community Foundation and can take in money and pay out money to El Paso Community Foundation. So the way it's set up is really set up to be a money laundering business. I don't know if it is, but that's the way it's set up because of the open records that we received. they don't have to explain anything, and they work on a 501c3, which means that they get grants that other people should get, right? That they don't pay taxes, and so other people have to pay more taxes because the pool is lessened with every 501c3. And if it's an illegitimate 501c3, then others are paying more taxes because of their scamming and cheating. And of course, Bob Moore, his salary is not commensurate with the business that he's in. Um, uh, so there's just a lot of different ways that this is a tax cheat, that this is a money laundering operation, and then it is absolutely a protection racket for the Epstein, John of God trafficking pipeline. And Richard was a whistleblower. And we have proof because of the way they tried to set Richard up. Um, they used their own connections that led back to their own families. That proves that they were targeting Richard be- before the code red, right? So they were targeting him. They were trying to fabricate some kind of fake story. So if they're going to do this to a U.S. Army whistleblower soldier, what if Beto O'Rourke, that's their guy, okay? That's their little small circle, elite circle, who has, Obama called him the second me, right? This is me when I was younger, and this, that. Anyway, and has the father in law that's the billionaire that will put up the money, and then has Oprah, the cheerleader for John of God, being the media, the big media for Beto O'Rourke. They had set Beto O'Rourke up to become their president. They wanted Beto O'Rourke to be president of the United States. That way they can control the Department of Justice. They could control the CIA. They could control the FBI. They could control DNI, DEA, ICE. They could control all of these agencies that are supposed to be law enforcement agencies, right? They could control it. So that's why getting Beto O'Rourke to be president was so important to them. And because, of course, Bill Sanders, Beto O'Rourke's father-in-law, had property adjacent to Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein. So it was Sanders Ranch and Zorro Ranch. And of course, Cesar Duarte, the Mexican element in all of this, that has the Chinese connections, also had a ranch adjacent to Zorro Ranch. And they, would gather up in Santa Fe at their lab. Remember, they had a lab, and they hired scientists from the Los Alamos lab to try to find uh, the the biological answer for eternal life. And I'm not kidding you, right? That's what they were trying to do. And then in the interview that he had with Steve Bannon, he explains that he would take that biological finding, and this is what he would say to people to get their investments. It was a Ponzi scheme. Okay. So he had his good line out there that he would give them, that he was so clever, he was so great, that he could get the answer for eternal life so that they would never have to face God in judgment. And that he would take that biological finding and mathematize it. He would digitize it. He would do that transhumanism thing, and he would turn it into a financial instrument that they then could be rich forever also. Not only just live forever, but be rich forever. Who wants to live forever and be poor, I guess, right? So this was this big Ponzi scheme, and they were, really snookering a lot of people with money, right? And taking over countries with it, y'all, because by doing that, in order to get the everlasting life with everlasting richness, wealth, um, they would have to do the most despicable things to children, right? They would have to do the most despicable things. And we're hearing that about Fergie, the um, ex-wife of the former Prince of Wales, Andrew. I think I got that right. Anyway, he was a former prince, uh, you know, and they were having money problems, you know. So let's invest in this eternal life, but at the same time, bring me some money now, and or introduce me to people, to solve my debt problems. These wealthy people, uh, it, they never have enough. They always want more, right? They never have enough. They always want more, and they're miserable, and they don't care if they make other people miserable, right? So, it really is this whole investigation. It's uh really disgusting and very vile and very vulgar, because they will do anything, anything at all, to avoid judgment, and be wealthy. And they did the most horrible things to children. Absolutely. And the cartel was the protective racket of this horrible pipeline. And Rafael Arliano Caron, the owner of Plenitude Crematorium, he was part owner of Cafe Central. Was the owner of Nomel. He was, the other name is a Spanish name meaning meat, Cartita. So, it's this famous series of restaurants that were in El Paso, but also Argo Oil and Gas, and also the lab. There's a lab in all of this too, and sharing space, working with El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation, which are the billionaires, right? Which are the billionaires, which is Sanders again, which is Paul Foster again, which is Beto O'Rourke. Um, and and so the circle is absolutely developing, and you see the cartel, the CJNG cartel, if you want to do the most horrible things to children, and then consume human flesh in order to live forever or whatever. This was the cartel to do this with, because they were absolutely like Montezuma, right? They were absolutely the reincarnation of Montezuma. And I think Montezuma had more class, believe it or not. And he was the most evil man. So that tells you how evil, how absolutely evil, um, this CJNG is. And they are by children's camps. They are by our military in San Antonio. It's been confirmed they're in San Antonio, where the military base is, of course. And that military base is medical. How do I know? That's my husband went to PA school there. This is the medical hub for the military. And that just to know that they were engaged in organ trafficking, because we know that with La Diabla, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard made that very clear that they were engaged in organ harvesting, and also cesarean sections, harvesting babies, or and then trafficking them on the black market. Just gives me, um, it's just the most horrible situation, and I'm you know grateful that it is transparent now, and that we can get it out there so that we can get accountability. Um, we have to know about this. So thank you so much for sharing this information. And you don't have to believe me. Just go look at, and I've been trying to post up all of the sources. There's so many sources, and I've been trying to really put all that together for everybody. There's just been so much going on, and we have this great news today that I want to share with everybody. Um, but I really wanted to make sure that everyone knows that they need to share this information, and that it is well documented. It's not just me coming on here and saying this, it's very well documented, and that we have CJNG cartel that are very vile and violent, and they're monsters, that they were given visas, that they were given access to our intelligence databases, that they were given property and licenses, and they were given access to our country and to our children and to our communities, and they have been um, being the dirty work arm for this elite group that want to control, really, literally, they want to control the world, and they want to interfere in the elections. And so that is important, because that's why Richard was lost his life. Eh, I cannot stress this enough. Yes, he was absolutely um, uh, reporting the trafficking, reporting the worst type of crimes against children. Okay, he was absolutely reporting that. But when you have control over the prosecutors and the judges, and the system, then you don't care that, they didn't care that he was reporting on that. Okay, I mean, they did, and they would bully him, but that is not why they had to do the code red. The code red was the risk and the threat against the powerful elite, because the powerful elite that Jeffrey Epstein was working for wanted Beto O'Rourke in office, and they absolutely um, abused and weaponized this Walmart mass shooting. And I would say went further than that, because we have JT, the Texas Ranger, that confirmed that the crime scene was staged. We know that there were investigations going on. There was a real inner battle going on between the first Trump administration and these elite groups. They wanted Trump out. They wanted Trump out because Trump would look into um, their violations of the tax structure, their violations um, of the Constitution, right? Meaning the whole election. That's why he won't let go of the election, because that is the foundation of our country, of being governed by the people, for the people, of the people, under God, right? That we are a nation really, and Wycliffe made this very clear, uh, and Lincoln kind of blurred the line, maybe unintentionally, but that the Bible is for the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, under God. That was how this country became so great. Is we had clear lines that we wouldn't cross, um, because we were governed by the word of God, under God, and but by the people, for the people, of the people. We were in communion with God. That's what that means. Um and these elite groups want to violate that, because part of that is to have the hands on, right? Meaning the votes. We vote for who we want to lead us. The Bible calls it the hands on, to go and put your hand on the person that you want to lead you. We do it by votes. And they were tampering with the votes, and they really, um, when you see Patrick Crusius, let me play something for you with Patrick Crusius, because I think it's so important. Let's see, maybe this one. Just a few seconds of him.
A Walmart here in El Paso. Where else do you think you might have gone here in this area?
To do the thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In this interrogation
I really have a
video
plan.
on the day, this is just
So you didn't look
hours
like for
after.
another sport.
He's
Walmart
nervous.
just kind of stood out.
They're so nice. They're leading him in everything, right?
guess, yeah.
And
I
he
guess
is
it-
totally
I mean, I don't know if there's one place is better doing
cooperating with
No,
them,
not at all.
and they're
You had
both
mentioned you were
Hispanics.
hungry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if
Were you
he's
gonna
like,
go to this Walmart or that
there's
Walmart
no
to get
blood
some
on
food there
him,
also?
right? There's no
Oh, yeah,
blood
I
on
got
him.
some
He's wearing that
oranges.
same
You got some
clothes.
oranges. So you
No
did make a
blood on
purchase.
him. No
Okay.
Where's this at?
disrespect
I think that's a
to
Walmart.
the
Same Walmart?
Hispanic interrogators.
So
He's
you make the
nervous.
purchase. Obviously,
He's
you don't
being
have a
led
weapon on you
because
or
he
anything.
is
You make your purchase.
autistic,
You go
because
back
he
out to your
has
car.
severe
Correct?
mental health
You go back
issues
out to your
since he
car
was
because at
a
that point you
condition
bring
since
back
he
your
was a
rifle.
child.
Might
And
be inside
you can
somewhere.
see
Okay.
this video
But
recording
then you leave the Walmart,
on
or you exit the Walmart and go to your
YouTube.
car.
Yeah,
And
at some
Yes.
point.
Okay, at some point.
it's just,
Do you recall
it's like,
anything
oh my gosh, this
that stood
this
out where you might have
guy,
parked your car to
he
begin with?
he's
Right
a
in front, to
patsy.
the side?
He's
or
a patsy. Um,
Um,
let me
No,
see
I
if
don't think
I have
so.
so many
Was it busy at the
videos,
time?
but
I mean, I just try to find a parking spot. Yeah.
Was that Walmart busy?
Yeah, it was.
All right. Your purchase of oranges was probably minimal, a couple of dollars perhaps. Yeah?
they're
So-
telling him how
Yeah,
much he
So you
spent.
stood inside and ate them?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe like one or two.
One or two?
I ate
That's
one or
all
two
you ate?
oranges.
'Cause I think there's a restaurant in there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. I just ate the oranges.
Where did you sit down to eat those oranges?
I think I just ate them by the trash at the entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is this what you're looking at, because you know you're gonna do this here now, so you're saying,
It was impulsive. I mean, I just said, screw it. Here is good anywhere.
okay. So then you walk back to your car?
Yeah, and I just did.
Did you sit in your car for a while, or did you just grab your rifle?
I posted. I think I posted. the
You
thing.
posted it, you posted your manifest,
Yeah. And then,
then you grabbed your weapon and went back inside.
yeah.
So, yeah, it is. He says he posted his manifesto on 4chan before he went in. Now the news were like, oh, it was after. He didn't post it on 4chan. He posted it on 8chan. He couldn't even remember the name 8chan. They had to lead him to, it is so crazy, and it's so obvious that there is more to this. And of course, um, the Mayelas in the video that I played at the beginning are the El Paso family that Bob Moore told us, oh no, this was a random by a hateful man. And I think DeMargo is paying Martin Paredes, a handsome sum to repeat the lies. And so we received, we weren't the only ones that saw that, but we didn't respond as quickly as the law enforcement did in El Paso, the good guys. And that is the letter that we received and posted up yesterday. I hope that it was late last night. I hope that you will take time out to read that because it is a correction of and I might even take the time to read it on here, but there's so much to talk about. Um, but please, the Mayella family being in the federal courthouse during his own case, being in that federal courthouse, and also the son, Michael G. Mayella, whose sister is married to Patrick Crucius' brother, right? And of course, Patrick Crucius' father is a disciple of John of God. Puts them all in that pipeline. Um, and you have the brother who is a cyber technician and hacker working for Walmart cybersecurity, working in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, being paid by the uh, the taxpayers in the DA's office, and then also being an intern at the office of FBI. And we were absolutely convinced that Nieto was the leaker, and he is the leaker. We're not taking that back, but there is a bigger leaker, and his name is Connell Wenton because he's the main guy. He's the big honcho there. Even though Jared, it's what's his name, Jared. Oh, it's late. Is there now. We'll see what happens, but Colin Wenton has been screened from many of the cases. We did get that. But Connell Wenton is very connected to Rafael Purchase Ariano Caron. Okay. He is very tied to the Argo Oil and Gas, which means El Paso Matters, which means El Paso Community Foundation, which means to this elite group. And that's not surprising because Connell Wenton is from the colonies, the Mormon colonies in Chihuahua, Mexico, and his family even started their own bank. They're a very, very a wealthy family. I don't know how they made their wealth. It's unexplained wealth. So you can whatever read that in, but he leaked our son, a U.S. Army soldier, whistleblower identity to the cartel. So he's absolutely, and I can confirm it to you, that we have the evidence confirming that Connell Wenton is in alliance with the cartel, which makes him part of the Mormon faction, El Paso cartel, in alliance with the Mexican cartel, which includes CJNG. And that is huge. So would they create a stage scene, a a mass shooting? Um, would they have the power with all of their infiltrated monsters in our government system? Would they be able to do that? Yes, they would be able to do that. And they absolutely, would gag the case, stall the case. They protected Patrick Crucius and made him look so bad, with all his orange uniform and all that. They absolutely um, created this case, okay? It is absolutely one lie after the other. This is a created case and a creative narrative, and that creative narrative was meant to help Beto O'Rourke and to attack President Trump so that they could tamper with the coming election. And they've done this in many cases, right? Because they'll fund who they want. They will use the media because they have control of the media. They will use the media to smear candidates, um, and give, uh, give a very bad, um, reputation to people that are much better candidates than Beto O'Rourke, right? Or even Tony Gonzalez. Gonzalez is their man. He gets their funding, and they did his opponent Mr. Herrera. They did a big smear campaign against him. And so now you know. Now you know that these elitists manipulate the media, do their hypnotizing of their narratives against the people to control the elections. And there's no doubt, I mean, it's nothing to be doubted. It is hard evidence that absolutely proves what I'm saying. And so, 5.5 years it took us to get here where we can say, yes, this is a group that's being protected by this pipeline. And part of that protection is to have the proper senators, the proper congressmen, the proper president of the United States, so that they could stop all kinds of scrutiny and that they could do their Ponzi scheme, their trafficking, their very vile and vulgar activities with impunity. That's what's going on here. And they already had captured Mexico. Absolutely, President Trump was right. It's a narco state. And you saw that the other day, 2 days ago, where the president was so scared, and even the head of the military was crying, and you had people not knowing where to go, because if they went to the police, then the CGNG are in the police. If they went to the hotel leadership, the CGNG owned the hotel. If you went to the consulate, you had infiltrators in the consulate, and they could all tell where your location is, who you are, and you could fear for your life for being kidnapped or whatever because of the volatility of the politics right now, because the cartels are being dismantled. And I don't know any better way to do this, right? I'm always judging President Trump. I'm always judging everybody, and their actions, to see, is this an indication of them doing the right thing? And I can tell you, I'm wearing the MAGA hat today because we believe he has been doing a spectacular job with the task that he has been given, right? To dismantle this worldwide trafficking network Ponzi scheme of a group of very powerful people with huge means, that want to control the world, right? And you saw what they did during COVID, right? You saw what they did. And so to try to dismantle them, to try to shift the power back to the people under God, is what we've been witnessing. Absolutely. And so another indication of that is the good news that I have to tell everybody. And I can, let me put this on here. And I think it's just amazing. Guess who that is? Uh, guess who that is? Okay, so this young man, Gregory Wedel-Morales, right? He let me tell you a little bit about his story. So, when Richard went missing in 2020, we were told, look up Vanessa Guillen, look up Vanessa Guillen's case. And clearly, we need justice for Vanessa Guillen still, because that there's still a lot of unanswered questions there. Um, but when they were pressured to look for Vanessa Guillen, because the parents and the family and their support absolutely did not believe the narrative that she would just run off, right? Um, they had to do a search, and when they did that search for Vanessa Guillen, they found the remains of Gregory Wedel-Morales. Okay. He died by a shot to the head. This was an execution style. Okay. Um, they found his remains. So that was in 2020. Okay. That was in 2020. And that was, um, so they found that was before Richard, um, before the code red, right? So they found Vanessa Guillen's remains the end of June, and they announced it at the beginning of July. So they had already found Gregory's remains before then. And so it's been like just about 6 years, almost 6 years now. And but President Trump has been in office for a year, and he didn't forget. He met with Vanessa Guillen's family, her mother. He did not forget Gregory Wedel Morales. And and it is just absolutely wonderful to see these two arrests and to know that President Trump did not forget about this soldier at Fort Hood. Fort Hood is Garrett, okay, is the 4-star general, Michael Xavier Garrett. He is so bad, y'all. He's so compromised. He is the big T to me. He is a big betrayer of our country and everything. And I believe that he was an infiltrator in alliance with this elite group, and that because of his power that he was given as a 4-star general. There, that's a lot of power, over a lot of young sons and daughters of this country. Okay. And they never wanted to find Gregory. They never wanted to look for Vanessa Guillen. They never wanted to find Richard. Okay. That is very, very clear. Absolutely. So finding Gregory was a huge blessing, and finding Vanessa was also a huge blessing. They never intended that. They were just, chalk it up to AWOL, right? Chalk it up to that deserter or whatever, and make them look really bad, and make the media say the worst things about our soldiers and everything. And but President Trump has not forgotten. And I think more is going to come out about Vanessa Guillen. I think more is going to come out about this death. And that means that more is going to come out with Richard, that this is a huge, huge message from President Trump that he promised in the first letter that we received. Um, that he was not going to forget, and that he wanted justice and he was seeking justice. And I can't say more because, there is a method to what he's doing, and you have to understand that there's so many leakers, there's so many infiltrators in our government, that he has to be very careful. And so, um, So this is a great indication. Watch out, Dallas Hart. Watch out. Your time is coming. I'm just really happy about that. And Lalani Hart and Tavita Nusa and so many others, so many others. And you saw what I posted, because if we know, that we can scream out over an online, then you know that other people, that the president absolutely knows. And this is also jaw dropping. This is Joshua Lyons. He was our casualty affairs officer, our first one, and he was an asymmetric warfare officer. And he is even published, um, asymmetric warfare for the Army deception, right? Deception. And so that puts him at Fort Huachuca. And of course, we know that Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter was also an officer there on Fort Huachuca for military intelligence. And we know that Erica Kirk's mother was also there for military intelligence. So you've got Erica Kirk's mother with Lolita Express, Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter, there, and our casualty affairs officer, all there, the military intelligence arm for the protection of this trafficking pipeline. Okay, that's what this is. And I think that that is really, yeah, this person, Deborah says, damn, yeah, absolutely. So it's a big deal. Let me see if I can redo it and see how many shares. Oh, Nieto's wife works for intelligence on Fort Bliss. Okay, that's a big deal. Just to let you know. And maybe Ysleta Independent School District, maybe. So, yeah, I can't see messages. It's so weird on my phone, but I see them here underneath me. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for your prayers. So this next one is how these people are all connected, which I told you all about. These people are all connected, and everything makes sense now. Yes. And then also, this one I listed out, all the different, you can go to all these different sources, for what is happening with the CJNG cartel in the United States that made, like when they got in trouble, they went back to Mexico, I guess, and they were extradited back to the United States to face charges here for the crimes that they did here. They are here, and I know that they're in El Paso, absolutely in El Paso, and all the way up to Santa Fe, Albuquerque, San Antonio, up through Kerrville to Hunt to Dallas. They're all over Dallas, and yeah, and it is really uh, a national security emergency. And so, please share, share, share. And even President Trump needs you to share because the media is not going to do it. You are his voice. You are his voice. And you need to share this information, putting this information together. They'll give you bits and pieces, that you can just, okay, whatever, and your mind goes over. But when you put the bits and pieces together and you see the big picture, it's a national security emergency. And so, we need your help to share this information and to follow, whatever the normal, absolutely. We're not monetized, so we're not asking, we don't have any merch. Uh, we're just asking for you to share this information so that people will be informed. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on, Laura. And for some reason on my phone, I can't see the comments or anything. So let me go back up here and see if I have any other comments. Um, yeah, they ignored Richard and social workers on the case when the father and children left them. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I have to look into what you're referring to. But if you're referring to the camp, yeah, I don't know. I have to see. And I know that Candace is releasing a lot of information about Erica Kirk. And that is important because a lot of information that she's releasing ties into this same elite group that just thought that they could control elections, bypass the Constitution, be above the law, and take over our country. And so, and of course, with Lori Franchi there at Fort Huachuca, and her connection with the Marines, y'all, her connection is with the Marines. Then it is, it absolutely intertwines with Richard's case. So thank you so much.